Hello guys, welcome back to my channel Code Genius Riya. So in our last video we have read about how we can add new service and how we can implement it with the help of monolithic architecture, and we have seen what are the problems that we are facing while doing it with the microservice. So here we have the communication strategies between services to resolve this issue. These two general strategies that we are going to use are really taking about how we can communicate between different services. These are two general strategies referred to as synchronous and asynchronous communication. So in synchronous communication, this does not necessarily have to be an HTTP request or a request that exchanges JSON. It is just some kind of direct request, whether it is a form of direct request from service A to service B to fetch some information. So this is the example of synchronous communication where we have service D which is trying to take the help of service A, B, C to fulfill its requirement. So imagine this is an e-commerce application. We are going to use synchronous communication. So we can imagine request is coming to service D and it might say show me all the products that have ordered by the user with ID number 1. And then the first thing that service D might do is making a direct request to service A. It might be plain HTTP request, might exchange JSON, whatever its form is. It is a direct request from D to A. So this is the flow chart, direct request from D to A. Service D would check to make sure that user exists. And if that user exists, it might then make a follow-up request over to service C. And then first all the orders that have been user created, it would get back a response and then finally make a request over to service B and say, give me details about this particular products. So after making these three different requests, service D will then have all the information it needs to respond to the overall request. At no point of time service D reach directly into any of these databases over here. So we have not violated any big rule around our database per service pattern. These are some definite upsides and downsides of this approach. So upside of the synchronous communication is conceptually easy to understand because here it is making a direct request to service D and service D will take the further request to service A, B, C. And service D won't need a database. So you can see here service D has not its own database. It is taking help of service A, B, C, and service A, B, C has its own database. So service D here does not need any database. Then we have like introduced dependency between services. So we can see the service D has introduced dependency between three services, that is A, B, C. So here it is an issue, like these are the drawbacks. So dependency creation is always an issue between services. So if any inter-service request fails, the overall request fails. Suppose any of service A, B or C fails to fulfill the requirement, then overall service D fail. Then the entire request is only as fast as the slowest request. So suppose service A takes 10 milliseconds, service B takes 20 seconds, and service C takes 10 milliseconds. So service D could as fast as possible as service B is slowest. So we can see the overall time to fulfill this requirement is 20 plus 10 milliseconds plus 10 milliseconds. It's equal to 20.20 seconds. But overall time is dependent on service B. So that's why service B, like the entire request, is only as fast as the slowest requester. So this is one of the biggest issue and can easily introduce web of request. It might be possible that service A, B, C also taking help of other service to fulfill their requirements. So suppose here like service D has taken request from service A, B, C, And service A is also dependent on service Q, and service Q is also dependent on service Z and X. Similarly, service B is dependent on service X, and service C is dependent on service J and U, and also J is dependent on service X. That's why it is creating the introduction of web of request. These are called dependency over the services. So these are the, we have like advantage and disadvantage of synchronous communication. In our next video, we will read about what are asynchronous communication, and we will also learn about events there, how we can use the event bus, and we have like two strategies to solve this issue in asynchronous communication. I hope you will get the point. Thank you.